Hi everyone, this is Broken Angel, and welcome to week 4 of Mark Brunet's 1-year plan to learn to draw. Last week, I mentioned that I was going to focus on observation, as well as perspective and line confidence, so I kept those goals in mind throughout the week. Like the previous weeks, I continued practicing gesture drawing, perspective basics using increasingly complex shapes, and line art studies. With that being said, let's take a look at how the week went. For day 1, I forgot to record but drew 18 shapes, rotating the combined forms to practice perspective and work on consistency. Things started off a bit messy, but several shapes did turn out pretty well. My perspective was noticeably better, and I divided the shapes more accurately than before. Most of the ellipses were consistent, though the ones attached to boxes still need some work. I continued drawing past the edges in order to build line confidence. Overall, I'm very happy with the results and feel that I'm ready to move on to level 3 next time. For day 2, I started with 3 4-minute gesture drawings, each with a minute of observation beforehand. The first gesture drawing had good exaggeration and pretty solid proportions, though one of the arms was a bit off. For the second one, it had good exaggeration, but the arms were too thick and the chest was too small. For the third one, the proportions were a bit wonky and the exaggeration was too subtle, reminding me of my week 1 gestures. After that, I drew 16 shapes as I moved on to level 3 from Draw Like a Sir's video. I split them between tubes and boxes. For the boxes, I copied the one from the video in order to focus on perspective and form. Pretty early into the exercise, I started shading the flat sides of tubes facing the viewer. The ellipses on the very bent tubes still need improvement, but they ended up being pretty good. Overall, there were areas to improve, but I'm definitely seeing progress. For day 3, I drew 24 shapes and again split them between tubes and boxes. The ellipses on the tubes were more consistent, though a few were still slightly off. I added center lines to the tubes to help with accuracy, and that made a noticeable difference. For most of the boxes, I copied the one from Draw Like a Sir's video, but I did do one from Imagination, something I'm planning to do more of. Overall, I made a lot of progress today, and I'm very happy with how things turned out. For day 4, I did a line art study of Craft the Monk from Freer and Beyond Journey's End Season 1 and started by drawing the head. Unfortunately, it was a bit too wide, which ended up making the placement of the eyes and eyebrows a bit awkward. In spite of this, the hair, ears, and mouth turned out very well. After the head, I moved on to the clothes and the rest of the body. Most of the body turned out very well, though the hand was a bit off. Luckily, it didn't hurt the overall drawing. I'm pretty happy with how the crest turned out, though the string could have been better. The last thing I drew was the bag, with it being a trust the process situation. Overall, I'm very happy with how it came out, and it shows that my observation is improving. For day 5, I started with 3 4-minute gesture drawings again. For the first gesture drawing, the legs were too long and the hips were too wide, but the exaggeration was good. For the second one, the figure was leaning when it wasn't supposed to, and the legs were a bit messy, but the upper body had good proportions and shapes. For the third one, it was leaning like the last one, but the exaggeration was good, though it could have been pushed more. After the gesture drawings, I drew 18 shapes, split between tubes and boxes again. The wavy tubes still need more consistent ellipses, but there was improvement. The rest of the tubes turned out very well, and the center line continues to help. I'm also getting much more comfortable with boxes, and the last few were ones I came up with myself. Overall, this was a great day of drawing, even with the imperfections. For day 6, I drew Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan Season 3 and started by drawing the head. The hair came out very well, but the angle of the cheek on the right side was slightly off. I noticed the lines over the eyes were a bit off and ended up coming back to fix them. The neck ended up being a bit too thick and long, but the anatomy still looked good. I'd say the shoulders were drawn well and I captured the straps and shirt accurately. I did have to fix the arm on the right side, but the final result was strong. Overall, this was probably my best day of line art so far, and I'm very happy with it. For day 7, I forgot to record, but here's what I worked on. Once again, I started with 3 4-minute gesture drawings. For the first gesture drawing, it had awkward proportions with long legs and a short torso, but the arms were well done. For the second one, it had better proportions and decent exaggeration, but the legs were a bit short. For the last one, it had good exaggeration and mostly good proportions, but the torso could have been longer. After that, I moved on to the line art study, drawing Flame from Fear and Beyond Journey's End Season 1 during a flashback. I started with the hair, placing down the basic shapes and making sure that the placement and lengths were correct. I came back to fix the back section of the hair once the body was in. After that, I moved on to the rest of the head. I feel like the placement of the eyes and nose could have been better, and the cheek angle made the head look a bit wide. Even with this, I'm pretty happy with how I drew the mouth. After that, I moved on to the neck and the body. The necklace turned out pretty well, and I captured the folds of the shirt pretty well and drew the arm with good thickness and angle. I will say, though, that the front shoulder was a bit off, but it doesn't distract from the rest of the drawing. To end it, I added the rest of the lines for the hair, fixing the back like I mentioned earlier, and I also thickened the lines for the eyes. Overall, I can clearly see where I've improved, even though I knew it could have been done better. I'd say this week went pretty well, and I'm glad to see that I'm improving. For gesture drawing, I think I did a solid job after focusing more on observation, though I noticed I overcorrected and made some torsos too thick and not long enough, and I'll make sure to focus on that next week. I'm happy with how I wrapped up the combination shapes and started bending them following Draw Like a Sir's suggestion. There was a lot of progress, and I'll be finishing the month in level 3 next week before moving on to level 4 in my own time. I'm also very pleased with the results of my line art studies. My observation helped me capture the details more accurately, and my line confidence and accuracy improved a lot. I know there's still room to grow, but it's great to see the progress. If you're going through a journey of learning anything, or if you have any tips you'd like to share, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And with that, that's 4 weeks down and 48 to go. I'll see you in week 5.